Psalms 33 is actually just an entire worship psalm. Rejoice in the Lord, all you righteous, give praise, comely. For praise is comely of the upright. It's common, it's purposed for the upright. Praise the Lord with harp, with psalter, and with instrument of 10 strings. Sing with a new song. Play skillfully with a loud voice. With a loud noise, actually. Playing skillfully is very important. If something it's worth it, it's worth putting in the effort to play skillfully instead of just throwing noise out to the universe. He is worthy of the beauty of the worship in melody that we can do for him. And he loves righteousness and judgment. We have so many Christians today are afraid of judgment. Oh, don't judge me, or I'm not going to judge you, or judge righteous judgment. If you see something wrong, see something that's out of sorts, to call it out. I know that from a masculine point of view, if a man points out something I'm doing wrong, he's done me a favor. If I'm fixing to use the wrong wrench, or I'm fixing to put on the wrong part, or I'm putting something backwards, you can cause great danger to your world if you do things incorrectly. And for someone to go, hey, flip that around, or hey, watch what you're doing there. Hey, be careful when it comes to, if you're doing something in plumbing or electrical or mechanical, and even setting up relationships, how we treat one another, what's going on with our marriages and what's going on in our families. It's very important to have a strong judgment of what you're doing and to listen to the counsel of others. We're afraid of judgment, and I don't get why we are. But judgment's righteousness is also doing something the right way to bake a cake, the right way to clean a house, the right way to mow a yard. When we do something correct, we get a better outcome than if we do something incorrect, and to live in righteousness. He loves righteousness. The earth is full of goodness. There's goodness to be found when you live in a righteous life. By the word of the Lord were the heavens made. Words created the heavens. And many times I'm not into words creating in a sense of a spirituality, but do I create love in my home by my words? I create hatred in my home because of words. I create ambivalence, or I create passion by my words. I can bring someone in by my words, or I can push them off by my words. Words are very important. He gathers the waters of the sea together in a heap. He lays up the depth in storehouses. Let all the earth fear the Lord, and let all the inhabitants of the earth stand in awe of him. For he spake, and it was done. He commanded, and it stood fast. The counsel of the Lord standeth forever, the thoughts of his heart to all generations. Blessed is the nation whose God is Yahweh, and the people to whom he hath chosen for his inheritance. He has chosen to create an inheritance. When we look back at this is so appropriate to read this in conjunction with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that the inheritance comes through the promises that God made. And then we will inherit those promises. The Israelites will inherit those promises. We inherit those promises through Christ, who was an Israelite, 100%, who was a Jew, and still is an Israelite, and is a Jew. So we get the idea. Blessed is the nation. The Lord looked from heaven and beholdeth all the sons of men. He looks and he sees all of us. He wants all of us to come back. He wants repentance for all. There's no king saved by the multitude of a host. The mighty man is not delivered by much strength. The king isn't saved by the multitude of the people around him. He is saved by God. And horse is a vain thing for safely, neither shall he deliver any of his great strength. Behold, the eye of the Lord is upon him that fear him, and who hope upon his mercy. When we hope upon the mercy of God, that God will forgive and work with us in a merciful sort of way, even when we continue to fail, he's very merciful to come down and work with us. My soul waiteth on the Lord. He is my help and my shield. My heart will rejoice in him. Let thy mercy, O Lord, be upon us, according to as we hope in thee. He is our hope. This is a very strong, it's one of those powerful psalms that begins high and just stays high right across the board. A very nice psalm. We have in Exodus just went through the Red Sea, and the Egyptians have just been destroyed. God has destroyed them in the Red Sea as they were going through on the dry ground that God had created for the Israelites to walk on. Also became their graveyard. There's something powerful in that also, to see that many people who are wanting to go where Christianity is will only find a graveyard unless they get into the promise of God with the Messiah. We have all these false religions and false theologies that think they're on solid ground, but they're just in between waves of judgment, and those judgment waves will come down. The Song of Moses in 15 is an interesting thing because song here is not just how we think of singing a song, blue skies and all the stuff that we sing about. A song here is a melodic reference to something that God did and that he's doing and that he will do. Sometimes my struggle with modern Christian music is it's all about what God might do, what he could do, what he should do, and maybe on a good day he might do this or that. It's kind of soft, and it's kind of anticipatory in a sense of not having grounding in a experience with God. Here, these people have grounded in experience, and they're talking about God both in past, present, and future tense based on what he's done. And it begins with, I will sing unto the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. The horse and the rider hath he thrown into the sea. You'll notice there's a phraseology here. This is a song Moses and the children of Israel gave. I think that later on we mentioned the Miriam, the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took a timbrel in her hand, and all the women went out after her with timbrels and dances. You get this joyous feeling. I think that this is a lot of came from Miriam. I think that Miriam has this is probably an amalgam of several people's song, because the song belonged to all the people. All the people experienced the Red Sea. All of the people experienced the terror of the supposed imminent death of the Egyptians, and then the glory of having been safely transported, if you will, across the Red Sea on dry ground, and later on that see their enemies destroyed by the wrath of God. And the Pharaoh and his chariots, they've been cast into the sea, and there's almost a melodic to where you could almost make a song of this. I really love the phraseology. I will sing unto the Lord, he has triumphed over me, the horse and the rider have thrown into the sea. It has this sense of melodicism. He has triumphed gloriously, the horse and the rider, he has thrown into the sea. The Lord is my strength and my song. He has become my salvation. He is my God, and I prepare for him a habitation. And it seems like there's a sing-songiness to this. It's not exactly as melodic as modern music would make it. It doesn't kind of fit any of the timbre that our ears are used to. But what was songs like 3,500 years ago? When we look at the Psalms, later on, the Psalms of David, and later on there were other men who collected Psalms, you'll find the same melody. This is the very first Psalm, a song of joy. It's hard to put the Psalms into any kind of modern melodic understanding as what we would call music. But it had its own rhythm. It had its own cadences. It would change its recitative in the middle. It will change its whole form and then go back and maybe add 2 or 3 forms. If anything, it's really closer to some of if you've studied the cantatas or fugues or madrigals, they'll sometimes pull away and do another part which is totally different and then pull back to the first thematic material. Sometimes this will take a theme, create another theme, create a third theme, and then just end. It doesn't go back and repeat any of the previous themes. And so, but it's still a song. We don't think that way in modern music. Modern music has a different feel, a different mode to it. So we have to be careful when we try to superimpose modern musical understanding with the songs and the Psalms. But it's more important, it's also the story, and the story is one of, we've seen this, we've experienced this. And it says, with the blast of their nostrils, the waters would gather together, the floods rose as upright as a heap, and the depths were congealed in the heart of the sea. The enemy said, I will pursue, I will overtake, I will defy the story, and my lust shall be satisfied with them. I will draw my sword, my hand will destroy them. Thou didst blow thy wind, and the sea covered them. There is this, again, a sense of emotiveness, of strength, of this fleshly hubris here that's seen. And the people will hear and be afraid. She talks in the middle, or whoever the person is, that the people that we are going to see in the future, the people that we're going to go see, it says that the people shall hear and be afraid. Sorrow will take hold of the inhabitants of Palestine, and the dukes of Edom shall be amazed. There's the dukes. Remember we talked about the dukes of Edom. that they will be amazed. These are the chiefs of Edom. And the mighty men of Moab. If you remember, we're talking about Moab, we're known as a more of a lion-faced kind of men, that the way their eyes and the way their face was shaped, and maybe with their long hair, that they resemble lions more than men. And they will tremble. All the Canaanite inhabitants will melt away. Fear and dread will fall upon them for the greatness of thine arm. And they shall be as stone. You can imagine you coming through and all your enemies are petrified. They're just frozen in fear. See, they knew this. They could have taken this on to the promised land. But what we're going to see as I turn the page is God tries them. The proof is in the pudding, as we always say. You know, here they get filled with hubris. They're filled with excitement. God can do this. He will do this. He will move forward. He will take on. Our enemies will be like stone. The mighty Moabites, the one who look like lions, will be afraid. And yet what happens? They are the ones who become afraid. They are that become like stone. They are the ones who pull back. But here they've got all this hubris going. The Lord will reign forever and ever, for the horse and the chariot and his horsemen will cast into the sea, and the Lord has brought the waters again. And Miriam the prophetess, like I said, and she answered them. Many times in the scripture, if you see the word answered means to comment in, to join in. We think of answered as I ask you a question and you answer it. This one is if I'm commenting and you comment alongside me with what I'm saying, that's answering. So here she just jumps right in. Sing ye to the Lord, for his triumph gloriously. The horse and the rider is thrown into the sea. Either she's mirroring this, or this is her own recitative. But we turn the page. And when we turn the page, it goes to where they think they're going to go in, and there's all excitement for what it's done, but God starts testing them. And many times in our Christian lives, God starts testing us. So he sends them 3 days without food or water. That's a long time. 3 days without food can be bad. 3 days without water, especially for your children and for your animals, can create a lot of physical and emotional stress. And where do we take that? Do we take that into faithlessness? God has given up? Or do we still say this is part of his plan? They get out there and they start murmuring. Now, they're not speaking directly against God, but they are murmuring. Oh my gosh, and this is under your breath kind of things, or something you say behind the scenes. But God hears it. He hears them murmuring. We're having to do without. We're having to struggle. We're having to face loss. I think we made the wrong choice. We're on the wrong road. Oh my gosh, it was so wonderful back there. It was so great back where we were. I wish we would go back. Maybe there's a way we could get back. They're doing all this murmuring, and especially about what shall we drink. Doing without water can be the greatest test of the human body. Doing without food, people have been known to fast 20, 40 days. I've done a 5-day fast myself. I actually kind of enjoyed it. But I did a 36-hour water fast. Those are a little different. It's different to push yourself away from water, from liquid for a certain amount of time. Your body creates a different form of stress. And here they are having to do with this. What shall we drink? And the Lord intercedes. Moses cries to the Lord. And they come across some waters. And the waters might have been bitter, but he throws this in there and it becomes sweet. So they're able to, all of these, probably, what we say, 600,000 men plus all the others, 1 million people are out there, and they go and camp. It's a place that supposedly has there were 12 wells of water and 70 palm trees. Again, this gigantic oasis, 70 wells, these great 20 wells and 70 palm trees. So this thing is spread out. It's big. And it's something that a large population could go to. He has provided for a large population. It isn't like he gave a little lemonade stand and you guys have to figure it out. He provides for large populations. And they complained instead of turning to him. Chapter 16 is all about the manna. And we've heard about the manna. Now, it says they took their journey from Elim and they came through the wilderness of Zin. And on the 15th day of the 2nd month after their departing out of Egypt. Now let's notice something here. They left on the 14th day. And it's been about 30 days. Usually 40 is a testing period. Jesus was in the wilderness for 40 days. Moses will be up on the mount 40 days a couple of times. 40 is always a time of testing. Will you maintain firm? And so here they are. It's been the 15th day of the second month. So we're looking at having been out there for 30 days. Once again, they probably thought, we're through the Red Sea. We'll be there in a couple of days. Everybody hold on. To hold on long term like that. I mean, going back to Abraham, he had to go long term. He had to wait. Isaac had his waiting point. Jacob had a lot of waiting to do as he was dealing with Laban. He had to wait for, the sheep to calve and all these other things. He had to wait. He waited 6 years. So he waited a total of 20 years. And they murmured. Here we go. They're murmuring against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. Now you're turning against your leaders. And in a sense, you're turning against God. Because these are the God-man and his prophet. Remember that Jehovah said earlier, Moses, you'll be like me. Aaron will be like you. So I'll speak to you and you speak to him. And here their words are recorded. Would that we had died. Oh, the flesh pots were wonderful. Oh, you brought us out here to kill the whole assembly. Why would he do that? Why would God save you, bring you out from bondage, save you from an army just to kill you? It makes no sense. And here, it's also possible that after this 30 days, they'd eaten up all the provisions. Remember, they took some things with them. They would have taken some unleavened bread. They might have even taken some flour and some stuff, and some leaven, because after the 1 week, you could have leaven. You could have leaven, and it was legal. It wasn't sin. So they could have been making regular bread. They could have had enough provisions, but 30 days, you're only going to go so far. Now they're struggling. And God says, I'll bring bread from heaven, and the people shall go out, and you've heard the story, and they'll pick a certain rate every day. And on the 6th day, you'll pick up for 2 days, so you aren't going out there on the Sabbath. And you're going to have quail in the evening. You'll be able to eat in the evening, and you'll have this manna, which was like a small coriander seed. It tasted like honey, and they gathered it up by the handfuls and scooped it up, and would knead it to create bread. And maybe they had some yeast hanging around. And he would give them quail. I mean, maybe they were running low on lambs and cattle, and they wanted, anyway. God is providing for them more than they have so that they might be sustained. And he goes, you shall in the evening, you'll eat meat, and in the morning, because God has heard your murmurings. Instead of being faithful with your mouth, we just heard about the mouth of God that creates great things. Well, we can be faithful with our mouth, or we can be murmuring with our mouth and with our attitudes. God heard your murmuring. Eek. That should bother all of us. God hears our murmurings. The times when we're heart going, I wonder if things are going to go right today. Oh my gosh, what if the car breaks down? Oh, we're running out of money. Oh, this woman God gave me. Oh, this man that God gave me. Oh, these kids. Oh, this job. I wish I made more money. Oh, we have all these murmurings that are going on. Instead of being thankful for the work we have, being thankful for the wife we have, or the husband we have, being thankful for the children that we have, being thankful for the life that we've been given. We didn't deserve any of the goodness. If you have a roof over you and you're warm and you're well fed, that's great stuff. You didn't even deserve that. So they heard the murmurings, and he's going to tell them exactly how I want you to do. In the evening, you'll kill the flesh, and in the morning, you'll be filled with bread. And you would go out and take an omer, which was a pot, probably about this big per person, and you would scoop all this stuff up. And like if you'd have 6 people, you have 6 pots. But if you had 100 people in your family household traveling together, you would probably have 100 pots. And you get together and put all this together, and you create this bread. Maybe you put in some yeast, and you eat that in the mornings. And then at night, you would have protein. Again, this is a pretty decent diet. Carbs in the morning and protein at night. Your body needs protein at the end of the day, and especially when you're sleeping. Your protein helps you to renew. It fills you with amino acids, and it's to fix your body and to grow your body and to move things out. Protein is very important. Meat protein is very important. We also have in the mornings, if you're going to need energy for the day, if you've got stuff to do, having a strong bit of carbohydrates. Having this was even better quality than the breads and stuff we eat today, where all the nutrients are taken out. This would be highly nutritious. God's going to give them great food. And so they create this bread every day. It's ready to go. You've got enough energy for survival, not thriving. See, here's the problem. People aren't eating for fuel. They want to eat for fun. And these people were thinking about eating for fun. Oh, when they say back there, the flesh pots, the idea of these giant pots, and you could just enjoy a stew. Oh my gosh, it'd be wonderful. Oh my gosh, remember all the stews, and we would cut up the onions. Oh my gosh, that was great. Here, you're eating for survival. And there's a time when people need to just eat for survival. We're not eating for fun. And that's a big problem. But here you're eating for survival. God has prepared this. Let no man leave it till the morning. If you gather for a day, you're going to have to gather every day and believe that God will send manna every day, except for the 6th day when you gather for 2. And if you have any more the next day, it's going to turn into worm food. It's going to be bad. You'll have to throw it out. Well, there's still people who still tried to hold on to God's blessings from one day to the next, and it didn't work. Many times we need to look at God's blessings every day. And so here they tried that, and Moses got mad with them because they tried to hold on to it, but they wouldn't. So they'd have to throw it out, obey God, go out in the mornings, and you had the responsibility to gather. So many times we sit around and want someone else to gather the food of God for us. And we are supposed to gather the food of God daily for ourselves, to go in and gather our manna in the morning, eat some meat in the evening, and you'll be better off. And so the idea of tomorrow's the Sabbath. Now make sure that you bake enough and seethe enough on the 6th day so you'll have it for the 7th and it won't go bad. And guess what? It didn't. When they obeyed God through the Sabbath, and he honors the Sabbath here, but then they try to go out looking on the Sabbath and there's nothing to be seen. And the Lord said to Moses, how will you refuse to keep my laws? He's training them. These are the laws. This is the structure that you're going to need. And the people rested on the Sabbath. They finally got a clue. And the house of Israel called it manna, which means, what is it? It's like a coriander seed, white, and it tastes like wafers made from honey. So it gave them even a sweet taste. Here they are saying, we want something good to eat, so he gives them a sweet taste here. And this is the things the Lord commanded to be kept for your generations. He takes a pot of manna and gives it to Aaron. And Aaron is supposed to keep that. And if I remember correctly, it was put away. It might have been put in the Ark of the Covenant. I'd have to research that one. But we know that that there are things inside of the Ark of the Covenant. I'm thinking that was placed in there, along with the staff of Aaron, the one that later on we'll talk about it, where it buds to show the life that comes from the high priest, that not everybody gets to just claim to be a priest of God. God anoints a high priest. He establishes a high priest. We'll see this story coming up later. But I'm believing that the manna and the staff of Aaron are inside the Ark of the Covenant. I'm getting ahead of myself. But here they take this, and it says here, gives a little foreshadowing that the children of Israel did eat manna 40 years. Now, God did not decide for them to eat manna 40 years. They decided it by being faithless in not going into the land when God had prepared them to. And so he also gives an idea here in Omer's 10th part of an ephah. Just to remind people, there's a certain level of manna that God will provide every day. Can we do that as American Christians? Can we see that God will give you enough manna, sustenance, survival one day? Maybe we don't get to thrive, but can we survive? So we need to look at this and say, are we murmuring? Has God given me provisions? Am I using those provisions correctly? Am I using them for thriving or for surviving? And there's a time to thrive, and there's a time to survive. So we need to be wise and glean from this what we can get today. But this is some wonderful stories, even though it's filled with a lot of sadness about how these people could have gone into a land of milk and honey, but they would not.